Welcome to the Gym Mastery Podcast. I'm your host, Scott. And on this episode, I have my friend Kevin Wood joining us. Kevin is a gym owner. He's owned CrossFit Moncton in in New Brunswick, very Eastern Canada. He's owned that for 13 years. He's been married for 10 years, has a 7-year-old daughter, and he's an artist. Actually, he really is an artist. Welcome to the show, Kevin. How are you?
Very good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I love that art story. As a gym owner, you've been posting some of your doodles or just sketch art on on um, on social media, and they caught my eye because they're a lot like when I start drawing and sketching. So they're really cool because I like my own art. Why did you start drawing again? Because it sounds like you used to draw quite a bit.
Yeah, well, I was actually planning to be an art teacher coming up through high school and stuff. So all my electives in high school were extra art classes, and that was the plan. I took art lessons and did paintings and drawings for other people. And then I started running a business, and all that time disappeared. And that was one thing that just went away. And literally haven't picked up a pencil or a paintbrush in many, many years. And so what started it all was I started doing what's called savers. It's just a miracle morning routine.
Yep.
But for me, instead of writing, I just do drawing or art or whatever it is that I'm planning to do that day. So I was just doing it on Post-it notes to start because that's what was on the kitchen table when I was there in the morning. And then my wife and some friends got me some art supplies for Christmas, and now it's getting bigger and better. And people have noticed how the skill has actually improved over the short amount of time that I've been doing it again.
That's awesome. I really enjoy what you do. I really do. So you mentioned about three things in that explanation that I want to swing back to. You talked about, you trained to be an art teacher. That was your goal. How did you end up in the gym industry?
Yeah. So the goal was to go to university to be a teacher, and then it just ended up that I also enjoyed being active and spreading that love of fitness out there. So it evolved from art teacher to phys ed teacher, and I was actually a phys ed teacher for about 5.5 years in
Oh,
town here. So um, I started doing CrossFit with my students in our classes. I started up a little intramural program at lunch. So students would come down and teachers would come down, and I put them through some CrossFit workouts. And then it kind of evolved from there into CrossFit Moncton.
yeah. At 13 in July, will be 13 years of CrossFit Moncton. That's a not many people can say that.
It's a long time.
Long time for a CrossFit affiliate. Yeah. So, how has that evolution of your gym looked? I mean, when you look back, like a brief overview of the highs and lows.
It wasn't actually my idea to start the gym in the first place. I was actually going to a personal training certification course because the fitness side of it was something in phys ed that I didn't really have an understanding. I knew all the sports and how to teach those, but it was the fitness that I was missing. And I met somebody there who also was doing CrossFit kind of on their own. And she kind of put it in my head and said, "Hey, you should start like a gym, a CrossFit gym in Moncton." I was like, "That'd be a great idea. You can help me." And she's like, "No, no, no, you're going to do it, but I'll just be one of your coaches." And I was like, "Okay, well, I'll do it then." And it just evolved from there. So
Wow.
we've grown obviously tremendously since then. When my very first gym was not actually a physical location. For July, August, September, and into October, we were outdoors in a playground. So what picnic tables were our box jumps, and the monkey bars were the pull-up bars. And so I just used what was available. I tow some equipment with my truck into the playground. And then it started getting dark and cold, like it does in Canada, very soon. And we had to find an indoor location. So we're currently in our fourth location since we started.
Wow. Yeah. Look, relocating a CrossFit affiliate, for anybody who's set up and tore one down, it's one thing, but to relocate, it is, it's not easy.
I don't want to move those mats ever again. It's
It's
the
the math.
floor mats.
I know.
Those can go to hell. I hate them.
I know. Yeah. Some of them are weigh up to over 100 pounds each. The ones I bought weighed over 100 pounds each. So that was a treat. Almost sliced a finger off. I'm sure you might have done that, sizing them. All sorts of stories with setting up and taking down gyms. So what was your first facility like, and what is your current facility like?
First facility was maybe 500 or 600 square feet. Our class limit was 5. We couldn't fit any more in the room without bumping into each other. Ceilings were very low. Remember, we had one athlete. He was doing one of the very first open workouts, and was skipping. His rope hit the ceiling, and the light came crashing down on him. Um, we kind of blew out some walls, and we expanded to, I think it was 7 or 8 people that we could fit in there at the most. And now we're in like a 7,000 square foot facility, the training space. We're kind of limited with COVID now, but it's safe. We can have 16 people in here at once. But on pre-COVID and on busier days, we could easily fit 30 and there'd be no problem. But that was only once in a blue moon where we'd pull people in for a big group workout.
Yeah. Yeah. That's definitely a big difference. Yeah. Would you have changed any of the moves that you made? Like, so many people are eager to move up in size. And I've heard a lot of stories of I should have never done that. Right. I mean, three or 500 square feet is definitely too small. But in hindsight, what would be your magic number? You said you're about 7 now.
Yeah, it's not so much the space, it's how it's laid out.
Mm,
So right now we have like an office area. There's a kind of a warm up area that we call it, or a common area. So we can do private sessions and personal training kind of out in there in the room, while in the main room a class is going on. So I just like this layout, how it's kind of all separated. And all of our gyms, except the first one, has had that component to it where there's kind of a separate area. Um, so I don't know. Current space is good. Obviously more expensive, and it's harder to heat with 25-foot ceilings in here.
yeah.
But we do what we can.
Yeah. So you would keep it just because the layout is ideal for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now we've talked about um, what it would mean to downsize if we ever came to that point, um, and I wouldn't mind it. I don't care. It's just, this is where the boat has taken me. I'm
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know
Well,
I'm along for the ride. So
pre-COVID, 30 people in a class. I mean, that's pretty significant. Even with COVID and having the spacing requirements, 17, you said 17? That's
we got 16 in our classes, and everybody's 12 feet apart.
wow. So that's very impressive. That's definitely following the rules and being responsible. So that's really cool. Um, so you also talked. I'm going to pivot really fast to
Okay.
the miracle morning or your morning routine. How long you been doing that, and what's that been like for you?
Yeah, well, I found out about it. I did a two brain business seminar, and one of the speakers talked about it. So probably since mid or end September is kind of when I started doing it. And then it's not every day, but if you aim for perfection, you're never going to hit it. So I do it as often as I can. It's usually 3 to 5 times a week where I can kind of get up early enough and start that process.
Right. So what are some of the things that you found? I mean, are you finding that it's worth your time getting up earlier for a gym owner is can mean quite early. Has it
Yeah.
paid off for you? I mean,
Yeah. Like, obviously it's just like anything. Like, if you want to learn how to skip, you got to practice skipping. If you want to learn how to be more mindful, you have to practice it. So it takes time to kind of get into the rhythm and the routine of it. But what I've noticed is that my days are more focused, more productive, and I find just my headspace is a lot different. Before it was a lot of, I have to do this, like here's all the things I have to do. Whereas now it's, here's all the things that I get to do, and here's the intention and the focus that I'm going to have going into those things.
that's good. Did you how long have you been with Two Brain?
Just over a year now.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
So you did
15
12
months.
years without Two Brain. Well, yeah, 12, 11 and a half.
Yeah.
Um, so in that morning routine, are you exercising or are you just doing mindful things?
Yeah, so the S is for silence. So I'll do either box breathing, or I went back into Headspace, the Headspace app, and I just do their kind of basic meditation stuff. So that's the silence part. The affirmation is, for me, it's focus, because I'm like a squirrel. I'll always go to the next shiniest thing. So that's kind of my mantra, is staying focused on the task at hand until it's complete. Visualization, I kind of use this to look at my schedule of the day and then see how it's going to go. So I'm almost picturing my day happening ahead of time, so that when I'm into it, it feels like I've already done it before. So it becomes more familiar. Other people do different things for the visualization part, but that's just works. It works for me. The E is for exercise, and I try to work out in the mornings, not necessarily during that first few minutes that I'm up. I'll do my morning routine, and then I'll come to the gym and work out, and then I'll coach or whatever. So the R is for writing, which we've already talked about.
Yeah.
I do drawing instead. And then, or sorry, reading, and then writing is the scribing for the last one.
Okay.
So I've actually just jumped into master class. So instead of reading, I'm listening to those or watching those classes. So
I think that's a really important point. You've taken somebody's like layout of a routine and you've made it your own. And the concept is the same. You're still learning, or you're still, doing a practice that's very specific, but you've made it your own. I think a lot of people try to do morning routines and they try to stick so stringently to the one that that person is prescribing.
right.
And what I found is that you start with a formula and then you start changing it to
Yep.
really make your morning really meld with who you are and what you want. So that's really cool. And it's really cool that it brought it back the drawing and the art. That's a huge benefit of having picked that up, obviously. Um, so having owned a gym for 13 years, there's a lot of lessons. I'm sure that you could write a book on things that you shouldn't do and things you should do. Um, have there been any recurring themes over the years on the things that you've done right? Because you don't survive in the CrossFit gym business for 13 years unless you've done a lot of things right. How
Yep.
would you let's talk about a few of those.
Sure. The number one thing is giving a shit. I hope I can say that, because that's really all it comes down to. I was, I guess, awarded or told that I was one of the gyms in the Two Brain family that have the highest retention, and the Two Brain gyms are already kind of a step above the rest, so it's probably outside of that, the Two Brain world as well. So right now, our average member stays for 4.5 years, whereas a lot of them, it's in the months before the members kind of trickle out and they have to restart that whole process, right? So we have a few members now that have, I think we have 24 members that have been with us for over 1,000 classes. So how do we get to that point? And I think it boils down to actually caring about your members, not caring about the numbers that they bring in. Like, it's getting to know them on a very personal level. um, when they hurt, we hurt. When they're happy, we're happy. And it's a relationship is what it is.
Yeah. How do you cultivate a culture? Y- You know, I'm sure some of the things you do, it came natural. Like it's just a natural thing because some everybody kind of brings their own flavor to something, and you don't get to that kind of uh, lifespan, member lifespan, unless you have some sort of talent in there or it's super intentional. But you're one thing. I mean, I'm sure you started as kind of like a one man deal, like you were the coach for everything. But now, how many coaches are you running?
13 now.
Okay, so you have 13 coaches. How do you make sure that they all give a shit?
We only hire from within. We've never really gone outside of our walls. So people don't get to apply. We've never put up a job posting. It's always been, hey, this is what we've noticed about you, and we think you'd be a great coach. And they have to have those soft skills in order for them to be even considered. So we just ran an advanced theory course with our members. It was no charge. We just let people, their only investment was their time.
Mm-hmm.
It was 6 hour to 2 hour sessions on the weekends. And we took them through what is CrossFit, what is fitness, training modalities, and all that. And then they got some practice in coaching. And then from that, we narrowed it down to 3 or 4 people and said, we think these people would kind of fit the mold, right? So they talk well. There's really 3 things, and Ben Bergeron's talked about this, is we hire people that have the 3 characteristics of being humble, hungry, and people smart. So if you have those 3 things, you have the potential. And if you sign up and do our ATC course, then it shows that you're actually actively interested in pursuing this any further. And then we'll ask people about their availability, and then it kind of goes from there. So we've always hired from within. One of my first hires was my mom. She actually trains our master's program that runs 3 days a week.
That's excellent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just hire good people. It's all it boils down to. I don't care if you can do a muscle up or not. That doesn't matter. It doesn't change how you interact with somebody. So just one example, we were doing a workout and we had sandbag carries at the very end of it. And somebody was kind of a little farther behind than the rest of the group or the rest of the class. And one of my athletes came back, or she was already done. She goes, "Is there anybody still out there?" I said, "Yeah, there's one more." She busted her butt, ran out, and then walked with her the whole way back. And then I heard them talk at the end saying like, "Okay, can't wait to see you next class." I was like, "That's it. You're the coach. You're the model that we strive to have." It's the people that show up early, that stick around late, that talk to other people, ask how they're doing. Those are coaches.
That's excellent. That's excellent. I think that's such good advice. I mean, for someone starting out, you just have to put in the reps. You have to put in the hours coaching. And I remember when I hired from without right away because I wanted to run a lot of classes right away, and it just wasn't a fit.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as we started to develop team members from within, everything started to click. So I think that's really good advice. Do you have you made bad hires?
Oh yeah, we
Yeah.
all have. You can't go
You're
through
not
it.
batting 1,000.
Oh man. No, we definitely we've had a few, not a few. There's some that they worked, they fit for a little bit, and then they kind of started to do their own thing, and that's fine. Like
Mhm.
if we're not a good fit for them or they're not a good fit for us, then that's fine. Like that's part of life. You didn't have one girlfriend or one boyfriend. You've probably tried a few, right? And it's the
Right.
same kind of way. It has to be a two-way relationship. And if it's not working for one or the other or both, then you part ways, and that's it. So we've definitely had a few that, they started out okay and then they started kind of drifting, and that's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Uh, Carl Neidholt, I think that's how you pronounce his name. I just did a podcast recording with him. It's the one right before this. And he was talking about the stages of a member or an athlete. He was also talking about the stages of employment. He talked about how the second stage is where someone actually develops independence. And kind of wants to find their own way and kind of comes up with their own things. Do you think that was part of it?
Yep,
Or yeah.
100%.
So when you listened to him talk, was that kind of an eye opener for you?
Just the way it's labeled.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so we've had 3 different gyms part from us. So trainers,
Yep.
3 different groups of trainers or individuals kind of went off and started their own gyms within town here. So they were all in that independent stage where it's like, I'd like to do my own thing. And it's the first time it happened, I held a grudge and it was not good. And then after that point, I was like, nope, never again. Never. Grudges don't serve a purpose for anybody. So after that point, I'll support anybody on anything that they want to do. So
Yeah. What would your advice be? I think you kind of just said it, but what would your advice be to a gym owner that's listening right now and they know it's going to happen because it happens to everyone?
yeah,
What would you tell them if they called you up and say, "Hey man, I got this happening"?
it, many gym owners have actually asked, because we were kind of the very first gym that there was a break off from in the Maritimes around us. So it comes down to the sphere of control, what's within your control and what's without. And what other people do is not within your own sphere of control. And so when you realize that and just let it go, it takes all the pressure off you, because there is nothing you can do. You have a choice in how you react to it. And that's the most important thing. So, you know, one of our values is help first. That goes for anything and anybody. It's not just, the people that are within our walls. So
Yeah. Yeah. What other things, other than just really caring about the people hiring within, what other things have been pivotal choices or actions that you've done that have led to this longevity of business ownership? And quite honestly, I haven't asked you, but I've interacted a lot with you, and I kind of feel like you're still in it to win it. You're still enjoying it, so that says a lot. So what are some other things you've done?
so it's not 100% enjoyment all day, every day, right? There's
Oh, come
obviously
on.
down days, right? Like there was it was like just a couple weeks ago, I was down, like it was like a meltdown almost. It was crazy. Even during lockdown, I was like, I wonder what it would be like to work for the RCMP. And I was, you know, you still have thoughts and concerns as you go. So it
Right.
is what it is. So what other things? We kind of like to we like to give rewards to our members for sticking around. So right now, when they attend their 500th class, they get a I survived 500 classes at CrossFit Moncton t-shirt. You can't buy it, you got to earn it. And a lot of people use that as like their next thing. We have a 1,000 banner wall in our back gym, and it's our logo in the middle, and then all the people that have ever attained 1,000 classes. They're huge, like massive banners. Anyway, like I said before, we have 24 people that are on the wall, and there's going to be 3 people this year that will reach 2,000 classes.
Wow.
So we have something they don't even know yet what we have planned, but we have something amazing planned for them. I don't want to leak it yet, but
Don't leak it because they might
yeah,
listen to this.
it's super like collaboration with them on something that we can do. So anyway, I'm looking
Wow.
forward to the first 3. Yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
So I'm hearing that when people come to CrossFit Moncton and they engage, they they are greeted by people who care, and then you celebrate with them. I mean, it's pretty much the two main things I've heard, which is starting to really make me understand why Level Method was a really good fit, and we'll get to that later.
Yeah,
Um,
I can't
so
wait to talk about that.
yeah, uh, going back, if there was a mistake that you made, and hopefully you're willing to share a mistake that you made that you're like, man, if I could just tell every gym owner, like, don't do this, like, just avoid that altogether. Have you had any of those?
Yeah, one that kind of sticks out in my mind is I sent out a member survey to my entire membership. I think at the time we had about 180 members back then, and the intention was good, and we got a lot of good feedback. But then everybody that wrote feedback expected me to change what they wrote.
Yeah.
So I think I had about 130 some results come back from that survey. So it was an overwhelming majority of our population of our membership. I can't do all those things. And some of them were, they counteracted with what other people said. So some people
Or
said more morning or no more mornings or just evening. Like everything was all over the place. So that was it was not good. So now instead of surveying my entire membership, I asked the people that have been around the longest, because you know it's if they've been here as a member for 10 years, then they've seen all the changes and they know what works and they keep coming back. So I'm going to value their opinions. Not that everybody's opinion doesn't matter, but we want people that are going to stick around a long time. If I listen to a squeaky wheel that's only been here for a week, I'm not really getting the value out of that, right? So asking your key members what keeps them coming back, and then acting on that. So a lot of them, when I actually asked that a couple months ago, I blasted out there. I said, why do you stick around? If you've been here for 5 years or more, why? And I asked them, and they said, the fact that you're asking is reason enough. you actually give a shit about what we think. So
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That's really good. I've seen some gyms put out surveys of like, we're thinking of doing X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, so that leads me to the real guiding, the North Star, if you will. What is it that do you have something in place that you're always using to make decisions or kind of that guides your business?
yes and no. We just came up with our mission and vision statements, so those are out in the main gym, but it's the values underneath that really help me make decisions, guide the way it's going. I mentioned one of them: help first.
Yeah.
If if you're not in it for the right reasons, it's probably not going to last. So that's probably the overarching one, is help first, and then all the others kind of stem from that. One is grit. So search out hard things and overcome them, and you'll become a stronger, more resilient individual. So if we have a tough workout, it's fun to chirp about it, but it means something. It's building you up to be something better. So you know there's a few other inclusivity, right? Where there's no discrimination against anybody. We just celebrated. There was a day in October. It was like World Diversity Month, I think. So we had a picture of all of our foreign members hold up their flags from their countries, and we made a little slideshow video of all of our international members. It's really cool just to celebrate people like that, because a lot of them leave their countries. They don't speak the language. They don't have friends here yet. And then they join a gym like us, and it opens up their entire world. They found a new family. So,
I'm pretty sure you had some social media based on that. I'm pretty sure I
yeah,
saw some of that. That's
yeah.
pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah. Again, celebrating your members, giving them great experiences. That's huge. So let's dive into level method because I think it's kind of hard to keep avoiding it. Um, you know, when did you hear about level method first?
It was through Two Brain, and geez, it was almost a year ago to the day when I reached out, I believe. So yeah, it was in the fall, or late fall or early winter, a couple years ago, and I just I heard about it, and then I saw people keep posting about it, saying like, "Oh my God, you got to do this! Check it out!" And it kind of fit in with our values of celebration. Um, you know, we're also not a super competitive gym. We don't have, we made regionals back when it was the first and the second one ever. When
Right, right.
if you signed up, you got in, right? So we're not sending people to the games or anything, and people are here for the main reason of they want to live longer, and they want to live better, make life easier. So the level method kind of fits in with that. Everybody feels like they are doing what's appropriate for them for that day, and that makes sense. My mom, as an example, breast cancer survivor. She's had two strokes, rheumatoid arthritis, but she feels like the workout that's prescribed for her is very accomplishing, right? It's this is designed for me, so I don't feel like I'm doing less than everybody else, because there's no RX anymore. It doesn't exist. Everybody's doing different things, and you're doing the thing that's appropriate for you. So everybody feels like they're being a part of something.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things is the inclusiveness or the accomplishment and kind of built in. What was the like when you saw it? What was the one thing that really? I mean, you just kind of talked about a broad stroke. What was there one thing that you're like, oh yeah, that's definitely incredible? Was it the programming? Was it
It was the idea of knowing what to do next. So instead of me just, bringing you into the office and saying, "Hey, if you know, you work on this, your numbers will go up." Well, that whatever. It's so vague, right? So
right?
now it's like, well, you're at yellow 2, and this is what you need to do to get to yellow 3, and you're like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense. How do I do a private session with you?" Right? So
Right.
it's very like it's step by step. There's no thinking in it, or there's no subjectivity. It's very objective. It's like, do this, and then when you've done it, do this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. How have your coaches responded? I mean, you're a year in, so they've had time to adapt and get used to it. What's your pulse on that?
So two things. One, at the very start, they were all on board. I had them right in here for a meeting. I laid out everything I basically just said, and I said, this is why I think it would be a good fit. They had lots of questions. I think I bounced some off of you as well.
Yeah, I
How
remember
this
really
happens.
well. Yeah.
Yeah. And they were all on board, and it was awesome. And now, second, now that we've been doing it for a while, we find that the classes are now more efficient because people don't have questions anymore. It's not, you're not running to each person and saying, okay, well, you're doing this weight and you're doing this and this is the movement for you. It's, they have it all written in their books the night before when we post the workouts on Facebook. So they have it all written and it's done. Anybody have any questions? No. Okay. 10 seconds and that's it. So our classes used to be an hour. Now they're 45 minutes.
Oh, wow.
We're still doing the exact same amount of stuff that we were doing before, just in 45 minutes because of the lack of questions. There's nothing to answer anymore, really.
So I think some people would argue that that kind of steals the joy of the social interactions inside of the class.
Well, what steals that is that we're all in individual boxes and you can't move once you're in
I wasn't expecting to go that direction, but yes, you're right. That's true.
worse.
Yeah.
But yeah, once COVID's gone and we can start mingling, that'll definitely change. But yeah, we're like, that doesn't negate us from coaching. We're still telling people the why of the workout, strategies involved. It's all still there. We're still walking around and making sure everybody's doing it properly, giving corrections, motivation cues, the whole deal. So it's just the questions of, I can't do this movement. What can I do instead? All of those questions are now gone.
Yeah, so it streamlines it so you have more time for the things that actually matter. Is really what it comes down
Creating
to.
those connections, coaching, the whole deal. Absolutely.
That's awesome. Um, what was the like we've how do I frame this? Has there been any evolution in how you operate because of level method inside your gym? Did it change your culture? Did it change how you do anything?
Um, I think I mentioned it before, but it's just now, the feedback that I get, and I've asked people, and we did one of the video contests with Diane, and
Yeah.
she talked about her experience with it. Um, People feel safer now, um, because they know they're doing, if they've done the yellow test and they're doing the yellow workout, then they know that they're well within the safety confines of that color, within their abilities. So people are kind of breathing a sigh of relief. And they're also, it goes the other way as well. People are now challenging themselves more in workouts. If your, weightlifting is in black, but you wouldn't necessarily ever have tried the purple weight for the workout, well, you've shown that you can, so now you can do it, and you're well under the time cap, and it's motivating to keep people always progressing and pushing to strive for new things, try new things.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. So uh what do you look forward to in the future with CrossFit Moncton?
Hmm, that's a great question. We've expanded on our nutrition offerings. So I currently have, I want to say I think it's 18 current nutrition clients, and so that's awesome because that's what I'd like to spend more of my time doing, less of my time on the coaching floor and more helping the people one on one. They've had, you can work on your nutrition for just a couple months and see more results than you could if you just busted your balls in the gym for a year or longer. So that's where I kind of want to push things. We'd also like to get our CrossFit Kids back up and going again. That's something that, kids can't do anything now. Everything's closed. They can't do sports. So I've been talking with my kids coaches, and we just found a social distancing guidebook for games and activities for kids. So we're going to look through that and see how we can start implementing those into some kids classes.
Yeah. New times demand for some, new new ways of doing things. And it sounds like you're pivoting really well and adapting. It'll be fun to watch you develop that nutrition clientele and get energy from that. It's really awesome. Um, well, first of all, congratulations on hitting 13 years this coming July. That's a really big deal. And I would say, I mean, I don't know the numbers, but I would say there's a small handful of people in that club. Um, and I think that's pretty ridiculously awesome. So good job on that. And thank you so much for just kind of dropping some of your knowledge bombs on the general public and letting them hear your tricks and tips to what really creates success inside a building. Um, One final question. Uh, what is the most valuable resource that a gym owner out there should, if they're not doing it now, should look for, should take advantage of?
Other than level method.
Yeah, yeah, we're just gonna assume that's the first one. Let's go with number two.
What's the second one, right?
Yeah.
Man. Honestly, I did my nutrition training through Precision Nutrition, and I did the level one, and it was kind of like basic knowledge, and I kind of already had that knowledge from university through all the training that I did in there. But the Precision Nutrition level 2 course, the master course, hands down, it is remarkable. It teaches the concept of motivational interviewing. It's changed the sales process that we do, how we interact with our members, how I coach my nutrition clients. It's literally changed everything about our business, and it's expensive. It's not cheap. It's a couple $1,000s US. But man, what an amazing investment. I've learned so much, and now I'm digging in deeper. The current book I'm reading now is Motivational Interviewing for Fitness and Nutrition practitioners.
Really cool. And you said, I love what you said. It's expensive, but the value is there. And what you got out of it is probably, you can 10 or 100x that, I'm sure.
Easy.
Yeah. So that's awesome. Well, thank you very much for being a guest on our show.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode of Gym Mastery Podcast. We also have a YouTube channel with the same content. You just get to look at our pretty faces. Hit those subscribe buttons, give us a rating. And if you have not checked out Level Method, links are in the show notes. And if you ever find yourself in New Brunswick, you can find out more about how to drop in at CrossFit Moncton in the show notes as well, because we will link that up there. And if you I get paid nothing. So by any of the endorsements, but I sounds like I need to endorse Precision Nutrition. So that's awesome. So if you're interested in some nutrition course, check that out. Have a great day.